Hi, friends. This is Wendy Harrop, and welcome to the Say Yes to Yourself podcast. On the Say Yes to Yourself podcast, you'll hear stories from women just like us who are adding the practice of saying yes in their daily lives in big and small ways, and as a result, are experiencing the truth that everybody wins when you say yes to yourself. Saying yes to yourself is a graceful unfolding, an intentional becoming of the very best version of you. It is my hope that in these conversations, we are able to find our truth and be inspired and empowered to live our very best lives. I'm so excited to go on this journey with you, and I look forward to finding a bit of our own story in each other's. Hello, beautiful friends. Thank you so much for coming back. I'm so happy to spend this time with you every week. It is literally my favorite thing that I do. And as you know, I am only available for what delights me. So everything I do is dreamy and fabulous. And this is my most favorite of all of them. So thank you. Thank you. If you don't listen, then I don't get to talk. So this is a very give relationship we have going here. And I am beyond thrilled to share it with you. I am also beyond thrilled because at the time of this recording, I am just a couple of days away from going back to France, have our Paris and Normandy trip, which I'm super excited about. And then I'll be going on to Florence with my mastermind. We have a retreat there. So super excited and just getting the property ready and having the dahlias taken out of winter storage, and they are beautiful. The success rate is insane. I have already planted 90 dahlias and I've only processed 24 plants so far. And I think I put 240 in the closet at the end of the season. But I'm super excited. And one thing that is really amazing this time around, I've been going to France. I've spent 17 weeks there since October of 2021, which is so fun. And each time, although I'm over the moon to be going, there's a lot of internal dialogue, internal tension about leaving and getting this property in a place that allows me to go. And of course, making sure Amelia's taken care of and the animals and the grass and the flowers and all of the things. And this particular trip is so different in the fact that I am wildly supported. And I've been asking for that. My word of the year is focus. I have been in a place where I am I'm asking for and receiving. I am allowing in help and support. And I just want to celebrate the fact that I have two beautiful team members, Nicole, who does my social media, and Shannon, who produces this podcast. I have three fabulous farm hands, Missy and X and Khalid, who are making sure that everything in my charge is well attended to and cared for. And Amelia is with her dad, which is beautiful. And I have this beautiful family coming to do a 2-week farm stay while I'm away. That's also an artist in residence. So Valerie is going to be painting while she's here. And I can just go and be and enjoy this beautiful gift that is my life, knowing that I am in service to my clients, I am in service to you, I am also providing space for other people to be in service. It's just bonkers. I'm so excited. It's such a dream. And I'm thrilled to be present and aware and appreciative and celebratory of this beautiful setup, and knowing that this trip is going to be really special because of that. So I'm excited. I'm excited about the new fabulous ideas I come home from Paris with, which always happens. Okay, back to today. My guest today is a relatively new friend. We were in a online coaching program together with Kathy Heller called Boldly Abundant. And she is a wonderful, wonderful human, and also on the verge of a new direction, which I'm super excited for her and for you. If her new podcast is in resonance for you as well, I invite you to listen. So Elizabeth Tiglao-Guss is a social entrepreneur who founded Link of Hearts, a lifestyle brand raising awareness for mental health, and sold inspirational handmade products in Los Angeles. She is a writer and a content contributor to different digital platforms, sharing her personal journey. And as a result, she is also a mental health advocate. On a personal note, Elizabeth has been married for 10 years, is a proud cat mom, and is currently pursuing her new passion projects of launching a new podcast and life coaching program, and creating a community of women who do not have kids by chance, not by choice. And I can tell you, she has launched her podcast. It just launched this week. I've listened to the first couple of episodes. They're so good. So if you are a person who really wanted to be a mom and that didn't happen for you the way that you planned, that it wasn't your choice, but just circumstances, then this is a great podcast for you. Or if you know somebody who is in that life story, please pass on her new podcast, which is called By Chance, and we will link everything in the show notes. Okay, I don't know why I keep saying at the end of these introductions to sit back and relax and listen to, this great conversation. I don't know why I say that. We don't sit. And if you are sitting, if you are taking a break, by all means, do not listen to me. Listen to you, your wise future self, God within you. Breathe deeply and listen to your heart, your dreams, your next right step. Everybody else, folding laundry, working in the garden, walking, working out, driving, here we go. I trust you will get all that you need from this gorgeous time we spend together here. And if something really resonated, I would love to hear about it. Send me a love note so I can celebrate you. Or if you think that this conversation is worth sharing, please do. It means a lot to us. It helps other people find the podcast when you write a review or share it. So let's grow this fabulous community together, shall we? Okay, my loves, enjoy this conversation with my delightful friend, Elizabeth Tiglao-Guss. Sweet Elizabeth, I am so excited to have this conversation with you and to introduce your just radiant goodness to my community. I have loved getting to know you over the past few weeks that we've been in this coaching program together. And every day that I'm alive, I'm reminded how there are no accidents and no coincidences, and it's all just beautiful synchronicities and divine appointments. And meeting you was absolutely one of those. And the fact that we even have my best friend of over 25 years in common is insane. Right. So I'm so excited. Thank you for being here.
Well, thank you for having me. You've been so gracious from the first day that we've met online. And ever since then, you've just been so kind and just so giving of everything, like the support and everything you're just so willing to share. And thank you for having me here. Like, it's such an honor to be here.
It's my pleasure. This is my favorite thing of all the fabulous things that I do. And my community knows I am only available for what delights me. And if I, I almost said if I could only do one thing, but that would just really, if I could only do one thing, it would be have this podcast from a chateau in France that I would be leaving the next day to get to the airport to fly first class back to my house in Massachusetts that has a restored barn.
100%. I agree. But you get to have everything,
Yes, all the things
anything
I
and
already
everything,
have. Yes.
anything and everything more.
Yes. It's so good. It's so good. Yes. And that is obviously, yes, is one of my favorite words. And more is becoming one
Mhm.
of my favorite words. And it's so fascinating. Growing up, I don't I don't think I was alone in this, but it was almost as if we were encouraged to not want, and we weren't even allowed to want. And if you wanted more in any area, it meant you were selfish, it meant you were dissatisfied, it meant sometimes it would get a little tricky and some church context would come into
Mhm.
it.
Yeah,
Like Jesus died on the cross, that's not enough for you. I mean,
right.
it got
I
really.
know. I think faith plays a big role with that because we were taught, like, just from passed on generations, right? Like, we were taught, like, you receive and you give and you give and you give and then you receive and then, but mostly giving. So
Right.
it's like so, um, yeah, almost selfish to just be thinking of yourself and to receive. And yeah,
Right. And that
yeah,
our reward is in heaven. So we are going
yeah,
to
exactly.
eventually get to cash in on all this giving, but it's always something that was beyond us. And so I really love this season of life that I'm in personally, in recognizing more of the attributes that are God's attributes and how they differ a little bit from my concepts of my upbringing. And I mean, I was also a child, right? So
Mhm.
I was interpreting experiences through the grid of a little kid. So
Right. Of
now
course.
I'm not, and now those are changing. And
Hmm.
I love that I know you are also a woman of faith, and
Hmm.
I love that God is the creator of the universe and we are made in his image, and so we are creative as well. So wanting more and creating more goodness and being of service in bigger and ways than we knew about last week is a part of that design, that divine design. And I'm so happy about
Yeah.
that. And I'm
Yeah.
so happy to be surrounded by people that are also wanting more because they're requiring more of themselves to be in alignment with the things that they're asking for so that the service and the impact can be greater.
Yeah. And I mean, I totally agree. Just the abundance of this creation, right? We went on a trip and it was just like the perfect way to practice this living in abundance. But the reality is, I mean, even just like a few months ago, I don't think I have this mindset of abundance compared to like several months ago because it's only now that I get to really embrace the true meaning of it. Like, we say the word so loosely, but it really helps to be in a community of women, especially that we're in right now, to really just believe what that means and how we get to practice it on our own in our own lives. Because it's hard. It really is hard. Like, every day you're grateful, but then what are you really grateful for? Right? It becomes that just like kind of the norm, but nothing so special about it. But then now it's really like, yeah, we really have so much. So we
So
have
much.
just so much, and we can have anything and everything. So that's been my mantra. I tell my husband, anything I want, everything I want.
That's
So I
right.
see it every day. That's like the thing.
I love that. That's so fun. And thank you for going on that little rabbit trail. I
Yeah,
did not know we were going to talk about that. I never know what's going to
why
come out
not?
of my mouth, actually.
And I love that. We're just gonna go organic here.
Right.
We'll get raw.
It's so fun. So I'm going to ask you the question that I ask the majority of my guests, if I remember, and we don't just start. And that is, how are you saying yes to yourself in this season?
Yeah. So it's a big season for me right now. I mean,
Mm,
I think I'm proud to say that I've been really saying yes to myself in the last, I want to say, several years of really working on myself, right? I've been doing a lot of work, self growth and self development junkie here.
mhm.
Um, but I think it's only this season that I really have this big yes, if you will. I'm turning 50 this year at the end of the year. So
Happy birthday. You're going to
thank
love
you.
it.
Yeah, at the end of the year. And so this is like a big, and every year I choose a word. I've been doing this for 10 years now. And my word for this year is becoming. And
Beautiful.
it's really about becoming the woman I've always wanted to be. It's becoming the kind of person God wanted me to be. So there's a lot of deep layers to that. And, but that also meant I'm becoming the person I used to be.
Yes.
And so that's really saying yes to everything that just brings me joy and saying no to the things and the people who no longer serve me and that no longer serve me, the things that are holding me back. So as far as the yes is concerned, it's such a big thing right now. I'm like, oh, it's my husband and I's 50th birthday this year. So we're like, yeah, it's our golden year. And the shift has really um shifted in a way. Like it's really a big change. And so I'm really saying yes, being in the coaching program with you. That's saying yes to me. And it came in a very timely manner because I found out about, Kathy like the week prior, literally, of this program. But it was me kind of like really creating what do I need this year.
Hmm.
I've had an online business, online store for almost 10 years, which I officially closed in December. That was me saying yes to the next chapter.
Hmm.
And what would that entail? What new things do I need to learn? What kind of abundance do I get to receive? So that there's a lot of yeses there. A lot of
Yes.
yeses. So it's a big year. It's a big year.
I love that. Now, you decided to close your business. What was that business and what I know you have an amazing mission. So I'd love to hear about that and that process. And then what do you feel like is coming next?
So my online store and the brand that I've created was called Link of Hearts, which is still there, by the way. It's the mission is raising awareness for mental health.
Hmm.
And so we sold products that have inspirational messages and inspirational words in them. So I'm a big, word geek, I would say. But I believe in the inspiration that it brings.
Hmm.
And so we started with jewelry that I actually started designing, and I was literally hand stamping them like different words that you get
Wow.
to choose. And then we started selling candles and different merchandise. And then what we did is I partnered with different nonprofit organizations, obviously, like, the under the mental health industry. And we donated a portion of the sales with every purchase. And so that
Mm.
was like a big thing for me because that's when I really started sharing my story. So, which I don't think I've talked to you about, but I've had my mental health struggles since I was officially diagnosed in my 20s when I was in college. But knowing what I know now, I feel like I've already had the symptoms way back when I was, in my teens, perhaps. I've had a lot of childhood trauma, and so
Mm.
that kind of, I think, led to, everything surfacing. As we know, the body keeps the score. I started getting sick, and yeah, and then I had a panic attack during this one day when I was in college, and the panic attack led to doctors examining me, and then they couldn't find anything physically.
Mhm.
And that's when you're like, maybe we should talk to a psychiatrist in school. And I did. And that's where I was diagnosed. And so I think in my 20s, that whole decade was really, yeah, I suffered from all the like depression, major depression. I was
Mm.
even diagnosed with bipolar disorder at some point, and then anxiety during that time. And I think it was really like a struggle, like a really deep struggle for several years.
Sure.
So I went through all the medications. I did all of that. I've gotten to a point where my dark days really went so low that I had attempted.
Mm.
And so to tell you the truth, one piece of jewelry really gave me that inspiration because I didn't have anyone to talk to at that point. I stigmatized my own condition.
Mm.
I was also, I'm in this Asian culture, like I'm Asian, and so it's very stigmatized. And so I didn't have really anyone to talk to except for three people at that time, my friends. Um, and and so I was very secluded and all of that, right? But long story short, that led me to when I was in my 30s, it I wanted to do something big, and
Yes.
so if I well, until I was that ready, I got to a point that, you know what, I want to do something purposeful. We
Mhm.
moved here to California with my husband, and it was the first time I didn't have a job. I left my job in Philadelphia, and I was like, I want to make an impact. What do I get to do? And so thankfully, my husband was very supportive. So I started that business because it was really my own story. I believed in the power of the inspiration through these pieces that we were selling.
Wow.
Um, yeah, so there was a lot of stories that came along that, and but I got tired
Mhm.
of the products. For me, it was all about the mission. I think it lasted as long as it did because I believed in the mission so much, and I built a small community around it. But I just got to a point that I didn't want the products anymore. I just want to help people. And
Mm.
so I was like, like, how can I do that? Where do I go next? And that's when I really did a lot more as I'm working on myself continuously. How do I get to do this? And because I'm like this geeking out about my age, I'm a big birthday person and I celebrate each year because
Perfect.
everything that I went through, I feel like this is my second chance in life or third chance in life. And so it led me to this whole coaching and like, how do I pivot now? And now I'm getting my certification for life coaching because I want to make more an impact and my stories are changing, right? Um,
Right? Aren't they
Thankfully, the
all?
mental health struggles have been really stable. I've been off meds for 20 years.
Elizabeth, that's amazing.
Yeah,
Congratulations.
thank you. Yeah, like I I quit cold turkey against my doctor's wishes.
Sure.
However, I really felt the need to take the power back, and
Mm.
I was under all the side effects of all these medications, and I wanted to find other ways, and that's when I got to really get into alternative medicine, massages, and that's when I redefined the true meaning of self care, and I really believe that my self care has um, shifted my health in so many
Mm.
ways.
I have many questions about that. Thank you
Mhm.
for saying that. You know, self-care is a term that we hear all the time. I have a belief and an understanding that it's not just a pedicure. It's really listening to your body, taking care of yourself, traveling, doing things that delight you, having all of these beautiful experiences. And I've even in the introduction to this podcast, I say that saying yes to yourself is a self-care practice.
Yeah.
And even though I have an idea of that concept, even though I would say my whole life is self-care, like I am only available for what delights me and I only do fun, fabulous things. I am learning, and this is very, very new awareness, like from this morning.
Yeah.
So this is hot off the press, people. That I have been, oh my gosh, it's so embarrassing. It's embarrassing now because it make all these things in our head, they make perfect sense when they're
Yeah.
just swimming around in there. But then sometimes when we say them out loud, you're like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
really not a solid argument, is it? But I have a woman that I'm in an accountability relationship with that was from this program that you and I are both in. And we were supposed to check in on each other about, have you meditated today, and what's your, and are you doing some form of self-care? And so she tells me, oh, I've meditated and I took a bath. I took a flower petal bath and I have my cup of coffee in the tub, and she's in California. So by the time I get her accountability
Hmm.
message, I'm deep in
Halfway
to
your
the
day.
chores, right? And so I'll message her back and say, oh yeah, I meditated and my self-care today is shoveling wood chips because I'm so excited that I got the wood chips. I love to move my body. I love to see the finished product. And so the first time I said something like that, she said, oh, I love that you can incorporate your to-do list into your self-care, and that is a great positive way to look at things that have to be done. And then, and it makes perfect sense to me because I need to do it and I
Sure.
like to check things off the list. And like we've been doing this back and forth every day conversation for about 6 weeks now. And she made mention a couple of days ago, you know, I'm not sure if doing your chores is actually a form of self-care if that's the only thing that you're doing.
Hmm.
Because, you know, we were supposed to implement a new
Yeah.
practice. And I said, huh, that's interesting. And then as soon as you just get one little insight, you're just more aware of these things. And I have realized that even in these beautiful offerings that I provide for my clients, for these trips to France, farm stays, workshops, all of these beautiful things that I am doing for them. And I love that. And I love providing and holding space for women that are holding space for themselves and all of those yummy things. And I am not doing that for myself.
Hmm.
I am neglecting myself. And it is a way that has been modeled for me in my childhood, in my marriages, and now in my own relationship with myself, this concept of polite neglect,
Yeah.
where no one's doing anything mean. They're just not having a really dynamic relationship
Yeah.
in those areas. And I have said before when people have asked me, you know, oh, are any love interests or anything for you on the horizon? And I say, okay, my third husband will be Wendy Harrop. And once I get that figured out, and I was also just, you know, kind of being funny,
Yeah.
and I'm doing what I do, and this is great. And this morning when I was journaling and really digging into this and just thinking, oh my gosh, Wendy Harrop is a terrible boyfriend to me, not even close to marriage material. And it is time for me to woo myself with some actual self-care that is luxurious and doesn't make sense and
Right.
isn't crossing something off the list. Yesterday in our coaching program, we had this intensive day. Oh my goodness, it was so great. It was this 4-hour intensive coaching session. And at the end, or not towards the end, Kathy told us we needed to take a bath. And if we had any flower petals, we're supposed to put it in there. And I would have thought, that is crazy. But I've been listening to my friend Athena talk about these flower baths for 6 weeks now. And I did it. I
For
stopped
you.
in the middle of the day
Good for
and took
you.
a bath, and it was not quite the middle of the day. It was 5:30. But after that, I put my pajamas on.
No, I'm so proud of you. I was so proud of you. You're like, I put my pajamas on. I'm like, yes, stay there. But
Right?
imagine what's in the middle of the day for me.
It was the true middle of the
And
day.
it
What did
was
you
like
do?
3 o'clock. I stayed in the bath a lot longer than really planned. I stayed there for a little more than an hour.
Oh my
And then I
gosh,
told
I
my
love
husband,
it.
it's kind of hard to get back to work now. So I did a compromise where, okay, I did the bath and then I read a book that's partially kind of work, but it's also relaxing. So like I just read a book and then I'm like, I just have to send a few emails. So I
Right?
did that, but I didn't, do like the more intense brain activity work, right? But
Yeah.
yeah, but it almost felt like so rebellious doing it. But
100%.
it, but it was like, because it's like for me, like, for you, it was still early enough. Because normally I
Right?
would have a bath, I don't know, 7, 8. At the end of the day, you've done everything, you feel productive. It's such a reward. At
Yes.
that point, I'm like, I haven't really done much. But you know what? I'm gonna play all out and do this bath. And it was like amazing.
It was so good. And, it
So
just
good.
happens to be a week that Amelia is with her dad.
Mhm.
So that was
Yeah.
brilliant. And I was literally sweeping up bat guano from my barn prior to that. So a bath is a good thing. And just to be transported to a completely opposite scenario and then linger in that I'm shutting down for the day. This
Mhm.
is what I'm doing. I read a book in bed. It was I mean, it was like 6:45. It was so
Awesome.
great.
Oh,
And then this morning when I got up at 4:45, my normal time, and I was having these beautiful awarenesses as I was journaling, my morning routine was 5 hours this morning.
oh,
I
that's
don't know who I think I am now.
that is, yeah, that is just fantastic. That's like so dreamy. I've had one of those days. I've had them. Yeah. And it's so great. And I think that's the thing with self-care, right? I think we get to define what self-care is for us.
Right.
However, like you, if prior to this, you were defining self-care as partly your chore. Why? Because you were enjoying the task.
Right.
But for me, because I learned to really serve myself because I was really in pain or, physical symptoms, the emotional symptoms. So I've learned to really ask myself, what do I need? What does my
Hmm.
body need? If that means laying in bed extra longer, like sleeping in another half hour to an hour, that's self care because it's fulfilling a self need.
Mhm.
And yeah, it's so much more than just baths like we talked about, but that's really fantastic too. It's amazing. It's a great way, like Kathy pointed out, like a feminine way of really taking care of our body, right? And
Right.
really nourishing it, our skin and everything that comes with it. But there is also like really tuning in, like the need, what does our body need? Like it's more than just getting nails done and going to a spa. Um, and I think even like when you take the time and really be intentional about taking care of yourself, that is self-care.
Yes.
So appointments, spa appointments, yes, I get that. But even like a lot of people, I talk about my skincare. I'm all about skincare, and some
Well,
people
you
say,
should, because you do not look anywhere near 50.
"Thank
So
you, I
I'm
appreciate that.
imagine
I
this
will
is,
receive the compliment. Thank you."
you're welcome.
And but some people they will be like, "I can't be bothered," and because understandably so, because everyone's busy. But for me, it's like, no, this is for me. I'm actually enjoying it, and I'm feeding my skin, and so that for me is self care.
Yes. Well,
But
and in something you just said, I receive that.
yeah,
And that's all this is.
yeah, yeah,
That's all
exactly,
this is. The
a hundred
what I
percent.
had to do to get in the tub was to stop giving
Mm-hmm.
and allow myself to receive. And I believe all of that and I say all of that and I definitely embody that on these trips. Like when I'm in France, I am on fire. I am an idea factory. I am like, I have big dreams. That place tells me around every corner that my dreams are not too big. And I love being there. And it is an up level every single time. And that is a place that is away from my responsibilities. So it
Yeah,
feels appropriate
right,
for
right.
me to receive and to allow that much goodness to come into my life. And the idea of doing that here and the practice of doing that here, and then the immediate, immediate benefit of what I'm allowing in that did not require anything on my part, but just this beautiful God wink
Mm-hmm.
of I went to the post office to my PO box and
Mm-hmm.
I got my mail and in it was my 401k, whatever those things are called. I don't
Yeah.
know. My Vanguard report. And so I opened it and without doing anything, I made $7,000 from the last time that they sent me this
Amazing.
report. And I was like, oh, thank you, God. I received that. And then I literally walked outside, opened the garage door, was going to go on another errand. And there was a man pulling in the driveway, and he works for the electric
Mm-hmm.
company. And he was telling me that there are 3 trees that are on my property, but they want to remove them because they're dead and they want to clear the lines. And I had just been calling the tree warden about getting this tree removed and seeing what I need to do to pay to have it removed because I want to make a gate from the walkway, from the sidewalk, from the road to my house, and this big dead tree's in the way. And so I don't even have to manage or maneuver or figure out how I'm going to pay for that. So I made $7,000 and somebody's removing my trees for
Perfect.
free. And all I did was take a bath and linger in my morning time, connecting to myself and to the divine.
That's perfect. That
It's legit.
it can't get any better than that. And I think most of women especially feel guilty, right? And like, to
For
your
sure.
point, someone was helping you with your backyard and you know the trees. Sometimes we don't ask for help because we feel guilty. We don't want to bother other people. Oh, I'm better off just doing it myself and then get it done. And I'm like, but you can outsource or you can ask for help. And that is a form of self care. That is a
Yes.
form of saying yes to yourself because so you can do other things that would feed your soul and really replenish you. So even small things like that, it's all these, we get to make a choice every day.
Yes. Multiple times.
multiple times. Even like taking a nap, right? Like it's so like it seems so bad. Wow, you have the time in the world. Like good for you. You're taking a nap. I'm like, yeah, but I felt sleepy. One time I silenced my phone, but then with the iPhone, there's a setting I didn't know. Like when someone calls you to sit consecutive times, it goes through the second time because it could be an emergency,
Oh,
which I
okay.
like. But at the time, my sister called and it's like, hey, what's up? And I'm like, and then I'm wondering in my head, how did her phone call come through? Anyway, she's like, oh, nothing, just saying hi. What are you doing? Oh, I'm about to take a nap. So I felt guilty saying that, but at the same time, not really. And I
Hmm.
think I felt guilty because I know she's that type of person. But then she's like, oh, okay, I'll let you take a nap. And I'm like, okay, bye. I'll call you later. So it's like I was able to create the boundary. She let me, I received it.
Right.
And that for me in that moment was like, you know what? I'm choosing to take a nap. It's just a 10-15 nap because I'm so tired. And
Right.
then I'll get back to her after. So like little things like that, I mean, that 15 nap has been miraculous, right?
It's so beautiful. And I want to applaud you as well for not self-abandoning and telling her, oh, I was going to take a nap, but it's fine. What do you need? We can just talk now.
Well, I know it's easy to do that, and I think I've done that too. So I'll
Sure.
be transparent. But yeah, I think there are moments that I remind myself, you know what, this is your time. Just take it. Like,
Right.
and so yeah.
It's so fascinating. I've been able to balance that against the chores when someone pulls in the driveway. And, sometimes people, sweet people, I love them all, that follow me on Instagram and then they just come over. But then when they pull in, they start to realize that it's actually just a house. Like it's not,
Yeah.
we're open from 9 to 5. It's not like that. And they're like,
Right.
oh my gosh, I just wanted to see what this was. And I don't want to bother you. You're busy. And I'm like, you know what? All the chores are going to be here when you're gone,
Yeah.
but you won't be. I would love to be in this space and in this conversation. So I'm already good
Hmm.
at holding space for
Hmm.
people. And I love that I don't have to get some degree in something that I'm not interested in or go do something that's really hard. I just get to turn that inward and allow it, receive it, and to enjoy that, and then have more to give on the other side of it because I'm
Absolutely.
completely replenished.
Absolutely. And they always say, right, you can only give when you're overflowing. Not
Totally.
even full. Like
Right.
you get to be overflowing and then you
Yes.
get to give. And I
Yes.
learned that the hard way because at one point, I was just giving, giving, giving. But then I'm like, no, it's not working out for me. So the older I got, the more I realized, you know what, I get to pour in for myself first, and you're not going to make me feel bad because I'm taking care of myself. I would
Right.
get comments, oh, how nice, you're getting a massage. I'm like, yep. And I'm not going to feel bad about it.
Right. Right.
Mm.
It's yeah, you're gonna love 50 because you're already
I
good at
know,
it and you haven't
I'm
even
excited.
made it there yet.
I really am excited.
It's the best.
I want to stop caring about the nonsense and the drama
Right.
and really just live my life to the fullest, be of service because I think I was created to just help people and help others. And so I'm continuously finding ways on how I can make an impact. And that's
Mm,
my becoming this year.
mm. What do you think that looks like? Have you identified anything yet? Are you still, you're not even halfway through the year of becoming, so you've got time.
So one big thing that is coming out into fruition is actually I'm gonna start a podcast. And
Yay, you're
it's
gonna love it.
again for my own journey, personal journey. In the last 10 years, we have gone through infertility, tried to have a child, miscarriage, IVFs, all of the works. And then we tried adoption the last 3 years. But as of last year in August, my husband and I just kind of like, you know what, I think it's time to let this go. And because we've tried hard enough. And I know in my heart, I didn't want to try the IVF, to be honest, initially, but then I was like, I didn't want to have regrets.
Right.
Um, but I know now in my heart that we've tried everything and it's just not here. But during that time, it was really hard. There's a lot, it triggered my depression. I felt so alone because it's such, nobody talks about this time.
That's true. That's so much of my journey as well.
Yeah. And I even heard a lot of people like having kids through IVF, but they actually did not want to say it was through IVF. It was like this taboo and there's like
Oh,
stigma attached to it. And then when we went on adoption, we would hear comments. I'm like, I don't want to hear your opinion about adoption. But for me, yeah, it's just one of those things, right? It's just, but we've moved on. We're moving on. We're still healing. Both of us are going through therapy, individual therapy, and we also do couples therapy. So we do get all the help we can get. We are
yes.
very proactive about that. But because of this journey, I also felt like I wanted to help other women who have walked the same path.
Mhm.
And while I'm leading into like, I'm not as wounded as I was, if you will,
Right.
I have really learned to embrace that this is what it is. And there's so much more to life than just being a mother. And I didn't want to be defined by that role.
Mhm.
And so, what do I do now? It's finding new meaning and purpose. Because a lot of women define their, like, it's identified by their roles in life, being a mother, being this, and their jobs. And so now it's like this new becoming, I get to recreate how, what am I going to do with my life and how am I going to do this? And I think podcast is for me just to start these intimate conversations with women who do not have kids by chance, not by choice, because I think by choice is amazing and it comes with a lot of empowerment and really choosing not to be a mom. But there is this unspoken need of community of women who have gone through the same pain, but is now moving on to like accepting what is. And for a lot of
Mm.
women, it's hard to move on.
Yes, it is.
It's hard to move on, especially if they have defined themselves as a woman, as like they saw themselves being a mother and they ran out of options, right?
Mhm.
So it's hard. And I want to start this conversation because I don't actually think that there's something that exists. And it takes one to know one, right?
Yes,
So
it
like
does.
I have this empathy. It's a hard conversation. It's a very sensitive subject, but I feel like if I had this when I was going through it, and even now, I wouldn't feel so alone.
Right. I completely agree. That was so much of my journey. And I know I have told you before, and I'm sure I've said this on the podcast, but there were 24 Mother's Days between
Mm.
the year that I decided I was going to have a baby and that when Amelia lived in our house. And all of the medical stuff, all of the domestic adoptions, 3 failed domestic adoptions, foster care, all the CPR classes and the blood tests and the syringes and home studies, and
Oh
then
yeah.
only one miscarriage. So just nothing all of
Mhm.
those months. I used to know the number of months, but that's just sad.
Yeah.
Um, And I thought all along, oh, well, it's because God knows that I can't handle a miscarriage. So that's why I just don't get pregnant. Because we just are trying to create a narrative that makes sense because
Right.
looking at the situation makes no sense. So I need to
Exactly.
spin this or it's going to
Yeah.
get really dark really fast in here. So I just kept, saying, "Oh, well, God must be thinking this and God must be thinking that." And then I finally got pregnant and I was like, "Oh my gosh, that's amazing. Here we are. And then I had a miscarriage, and
Oh,
that it knocked me for a loop,
oh yeah.
because that all my narrative was now not accurate.
Yeah.
And it was really, really hard. And then we still had some embryos in cryo storage. And so we decided we would try again with IVF, and they didn't survive the thawing process.
Yeah.
But you don't know that until you're in the stirrups
Mm-hmm.
waiting for them to come into the room. So we asked the doctor at that point, like, okay, we've got this much money. Should we try again, or should we go to adoption, international adoption? And she said, I'd suggest you go with the sure thing. And so it was she said that,
Yeah.
I put all the syringes to the safe drop box, and my heart just shifted to, okay, here we go. This is going to happen. The wait time was 8 to 12 months. So, and I love a form. So I filled out all those forms, a whole dossier for China, had it translated, like all the things. And we sent it off. It took about 9 months to collect all the paperwork,
Yeah.
and then sent it off. And we get the email, thank you, we've received your paperwork. The current wait time is 8 to 12 months. And then the next month, you get these emails every month. And then the next month they said, thank you so much. We hope you're doing well. The current wait time is 9 to 13 months. And I was like, oh,
Oh,
wait, it's been a month. So aren't the numbers supposed to go down, not increase? And then month to month, they kept increasing. We were in the queue for 10 years.
wow.
Yeah.
I did not know that.
Yeah. So I hear
Wow.
you, and I see you, and I remember what that felt like.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, now I parent a unicorn who's the most amazing human I've ever met. And the day I got my referral, then just like the switch from biologically having a baby to adopting, how it just switched as soon as we got her referral, I was like, oh, well, I guess that wasn't that long of a wait. And here we
Yeah.
go. I'm just doing this now.
Wow.
And always just living the life I had until I got the
Right.
life I
Yeah.
wanted. And I'm so glad that you are holding space for women who are in that story, that are in that space, whether they never had the opportunity to become a mom,
Yep.
or they had infertility circumstances like you and I did. I think it's so beautiful. It's sacred space that you're holding.
It absolutely is. I mean, thank you for saying that. And thank you for using the word sacred. You know, that's resonated with me the moment that you said it. I think it's a very sensitive topic to talk about, but I also believe that there is something cathartic about really having conversations with other women who have gone through it. And the premise of the podcast is not to be really talking about, oh, what happened? You know, it's not a pity party. I want it to be uplifting. I want it to be raw, and I want it to be heartwarming. Like, I got you. I see you. I know what you went through exactly. And because in general, right, where we're hanging out with the friends, a lot of the friends will have kids. They start talking about kids, and all of a sudden I feel left out. And I'm like, well, I don't have any kids, so I have nothing to talk about.
Mhm.
So lately, actually, we've been finding ourselves, my husband and I, hanging out with other friends who don't have kids. And so I feel like, wouldn't it be amazing to just have this gathering of women talking about life, not
Yes.
to talk about what happened to us, but yes, that will always remain a part of our story. but then moving on, like, you know what, we don't get to be defined by what happened to us. And
Right.
I think for, I've shared whatever happened, everything happened in my life. It's like I have learned to really turn my struggles into a different meaning and change my narrative. I remember my husband saying to another friend, it just didn't work out for us. We did the adoption for 3 years and it's just not in our cards. And I actually reminded him, I said, you know what? We're going to change that narrative
Mm-hmm.
because we actually chose to end the adoption efforts. We could have kept going like you guys 10 years,
Right.
right? But now we're choosing when we actually chose to stop only because I realized too that we're turning 50 and I don't think it would be fair to us and the child because we're getting to that age. And honestly, my body's changing.
Mm-hmm.
Menopause is there, knocking on my door and a
Mm-hmm.
big knocking. So I said, I don't think it would be fair. So, but the more empowering way of looking at it is we're choosing to
Yes.
just move forward. And while we have this loss of this dream that we had hoped, like we get to create our own family and we get to create. And I think that's one of the purposes of this podcast is to create a community of women just talking about life. And honestly, you travel, we love traveling.
Right.
And then we have the freedom of traveling anytime, not just during summer because we have no kids.
That's
So I
right.
want to have retreats with these women eventually, but it starts with a podcast and really just starting the conversation. Let's just talk about it. And then, you know what? It erases the stigma. It
Mm-hmm.
erases the heaviness of it because I want to make it light and fun. Like, you know what? Let's talk about the good things happening because we don't have kids. And it's not coming from bitterness or
Right.
any negative. It's just like, I'm going to enjoy my life right now. And as a couple, we get to be a family, just you and me.
Yes.
And then we'll have
Yes.
friends and other people, and that will become our family. And I'm focusing on that. And that's what I really want this purpose to be, this purpose of the podcast, of this community, and me becoming to be this conduit
Mm.
and just touch other women's lives because I know how it's like.
It's so beautiful. I'm so excited that you're doing that. It's going to be amazing. And there's something so powerful when we are able to speak the thing that feels too dark to be spoken or too heavy or too shameful. And we think that it will crush us if we let it out of our body. And when we do, it gets smaller, it loses its power, and we gain everything in that exchange. And I think it's fascinating. The opposite is true about our dreams, that we sometimes are afraid to speak our dreams because we don't want somebody else to crush them.
Mm-hmm.
And if we let them out, that they'll get stomped on. And actually, when we let them out, they get water and sunshine and they grow. And
Yeah.
so I love that what you're doing is neutralizing this thing that is painful and has stigma attached to it.
Yeah.
And what I'm doing is putting water and sunshine on dreams and
Yeah.
inviting people to share what those are. And if you don't know what that is, get on my calendar, Queen, because
Uh-huh.
I would love to excavate that and help you see what is in your heart and then get water and sunshine on that and watch it grow.
Ah, beautifully said. And that's it. The end.
So fun. Oh my gosh. Thank you so much for this. I loved this conversation. Please tell everyone where they can find and follow you and be witness to that transition. We'll link everything in the show notes as well, but where can people find you now?
Well, first, thank you. Thank you for really giving me the space to share my story and for really giving me that compassion and really listening and hearing me out. Like you see me, you feel me, because it's part of your journey as well. So I do appreciate that. I appreciate you just now being part of my life. I really am so grateful for that. That's like I'm receiving you as my friend and lifetime friend, and I'm grateful for that.
Thank you. I
Yeah,
received that back.
yes. You can find me Link of Hearts. That is my Instagram. I'll be opening a new Instagram account once we launch this podcast, which is going to be actually around Mother's Day,
Love
before
it.
Mother's Day, because I want to start that intention. I know it's new. Not many people will hear it yet, but having the intention of putting it out there before Mother's Day, I feel like that is the premise, having this conversation, especially at a very sensitive time. Because
Beautiful.
there's a sting to it around Mother's Day.
Oh my word. Yes. I actually, in my mind trickiness, how I
Yeah.
switch these things, I pretended that people were saying happy birthday. So I just told myself they were saying happy birthday. So then when they would say happy Mother's Day, I'd be like, oh my gosh, thank you. It's like a month early, but thanks. Wow.
I love that. I love
because
that.
I had to. Otherwise, I'm going to scratch their
Yeah.
eyes out. Like,
Yeah.
are you serious? You're not paying attention?
Yeah, right?
Jerk.
Yeah. Yeah.
Pastor? Like, what are you doing?
Do you see me? Do you know what?
Right. I'm on staff. Like, we
Yeah.
pray about me having a baby every
Yeah.
week. Like, so
Yeah.
don't ask me to pray that Sunday. Anyway, yeah, so there's all sorts of tricks because that day is dumb. You can't even go to the grocery store.
Oh yeah. I mean, even now, I'm honestly seeing we're what 1 month out, and I'm seeing ads, Mother's Day gift, and I'm like, oh, okay, you know.
Mhm.
But yeah, so we're launching the podcast few days before Mother's Day, that basically that week, and so we'll open an Instagram account. But if you just follow Link of Hearts, that's where my initial online brand. But I'm keeping that community because I'm still raising awareness for mental health, and I'm
Yes, you are.
talking about how self-care matters. So, and I'm continuously talking about like sharing my story there. So that would be the best. And I have the website linkofhearts.com, which when I transition to another website, everything will be there. And yeah.
Perfect. It's all integrated. I love it. Thank you so much, Elizabeth. I just adore you.
Thanks.
I hope you enjoyed that conversation as much as I did. As always, any links or notes mentioned can be found at phineaswrighthouse.com in the podcast section of our site or in the show notes below. And if you haven't connected with me personally, come find me on Instagram at Phineas Wrighthouse and let me know you listened to this episode. I'd love to get to know you. Thank you for sharing this time with me. I know your days are full, and I'm really grateful that you chose to spend some of your precious time right here. Be sure to subscribe to the podcast so you don't miss any of these delightful conversations. I'll see you next week.